Hello everyone and welcome back to the Space & Co YouTube channel. Today we're going to be sharing with you guys a really easy, simple, beginner-friendly autumn-winter makeup look, and we're really excited to have Sam Chapman on the channel. I'm very excited to be picking up tips and tricks. So we're going to get straight into the makeup look, and yeah, everything that you guys see us using will be listed down below for you, so don't forget to check out the description box. But let's get straight into the makeup look.
Okay, the first thing we're going to do, SPF.
Okay.
Right, this is my favourite SPF. The Medicate Advanced Day Total Protect. It comes in a 30 and a 50. I particularly love this SPF because it works so well under foundation products. Sometimes you find that an SPF could be too shiny, or it could be too matte, or you might find that you get pilling. This doesn't do that at all. And it is a brilliant skincare brand, so it's really trusted.
And that's always your first step, SPF?
Well, it isn't my first step. Like, okay. I would do skincare first, but you've already got your skincare
I've
on,
done
right?
My skincare
You've done your skincare, so we're gonna keep it simple and just go with the actual makeup products. But this is the one, if I had to say one skincare product that you could never be without, this is the one. You should be wearing it every day, whether it's the summer or the winter. It has to be worn. But the other thing that I love about this, and the reason it reminds me to put my SPF on, is because it adds such a nice finish to the makeup.
Right.
So it's almost like a step in itself. Even if it didn't have those protective properties in it, I would still pick it.
Okay. It's always so nice having a professional even just apply skincare. It just feels elite compared to when you do it in the morning. Just like throw it on and rush.
When you do it at home, you use 2 fingers worth and you do all of your neck.
Okay, so now that SPF is out of the way, what is the typical order that you like to start with your makeup?
So it's not a one size fits all. I always talk to the client about what their skin type's like, whether they get shiny or whether they find that they're very, very dry. And then I'll pick a primer depending on their answer. So if someone said that they were particularly shiny, then I might pick a matte, a completely matte primer. If I want a bit more of a glow, I could use a glowy primer. I'm actually going to use a little bit of this. It's a tint, you can wear it on its own if you want to in the summer, but I'm going to use it just to give a little bit of gloss and glow and slip to the skin before I put a bit more foundation on.
Ah, okay. I'm learning already.
Well, it's actually called this is called the Sheer Glow Tint Hydrating Foundation Stick, but for some people it wouldn't be enough coverage.
Yeah, it's like quite sheer.
It is very sheer. Yeah. So if you like very little foundation, then this might be perfect for you. But if you want a little bit more, not so much. Okay, I'm going to use a tiny little bit of this to add glow.
So what have been some of your favourite hero brands in the last year that you say? It's difficult to pick.
Right, so one brand stands out to me quite a lot because a lot of the things that they've done I've absolutely loved, which is Kosas.
Yeah. It
really, really stands out for me. I love their brow pencil, I love their lip liners, their eyeliners I've just got into, they're great. Rare Beauty, that mascara is amazing.
We spoke about that on the channel last week actually.
I love it.
It's a lot of people's favourite,
It's
that mascara.
really, really something. Yeah. And I think that she's done such a great job of bringing out basics for beginners as well.
Yeah.
It's really a smart brand. I love it a lot. So you should be able to see there's a little bit more of a glow to the skin now.
So now you look like you're going in with an Hourglass foundation.
I am.
This is one of my favourites.
Right. Now, this foundation is phenomenal and it's good for everyone. Did you know it's waterproof?
No.
Yes, it's waterproof. It's one of the only foundations that is. So if you want coverage, let's say you're going on your honeymoon or something and you want coverage all the time, you're going swimming or whatever, this is great. But the other great thing about it is that a little bit really goes a long way. And because you have such phenomenal skin, you really do, it's so beautiful. You don't need a lot of product. And this is one of the things that I'm really into, is only using what you need to use. So we're going to use a little bit of this sparingly around the face. And it may be that we can use this instead of concealer.
And then in terms of the stick foundation, do you like to warm it up on your skin first, or you apply it directly from the stick or brush?
I will take from the stick today because this is brand new. Yes. But so usually I would put that onto my hand first. This is brand new product that is yours. So I can just use it. I have the luxury to use it like this.
Right.
But as a makeup artist, for hygiene reasons, you wouldn't do this. But today I get to, which is lush. So I'm using a little of this just under the eyes.
I think I was first introduced to them with the foundation stick. That was the first thing that I'd used from them.
It's incredible.
Like, hit the jackpot.
This foundation stick, one of their best products, I think, because you can use it. You can use it with a full coverage, or you can really shear it down and use it with nothing. As I said, it's waterproof. Also, you can use it as a concealer. It's just, it really is pretty much a perfect product. I am using shade 15, and I'm going in and using it anywhere that I want to kind of unify the skin. Sometimes we find that different areas of our faces are different colours. So I'm just taking out any sort of darkness or any blemishes just by using a little of that. So I'm using this Monica Blunder brush. It's really one of my favourites because it's a pretty small size. Sometimes you find with a big foundation brush, one, it will pick up quite a lot of product, but two, it's quite big to work around the face, and so you have less control over where the product goes. I quite like smaller brushes for things because then I can be quite particular. And actually, I feel like sometimes on social media we're seeing a lot of things of how you should use product, and it's a lot of product. But the less product you use, the better. You can always build it up. If you go straight in with a lot of product, that's a lot of product you then have to take off when it invariably looks heavy. So I always start quite light and then work in extra stuff where I need it, if I need it. Right, I'm going to leave the skin to sit. I like to let it settle and see what I need to add in a bit. So we're going to move on to brows. I'm going to start off just by brushing your brows to see the shape. They are very gorgeous.
Are they?
Yes.
Do you know something? With brows, I always struggle because I find that if I do them incorrectly, they just make the whole look off. So what's like the best tip or trick when it comes to doing the brows?
Right, keep your brows as natural as you possibly can.
Okay.
If, like me, you plucked them all out in the 90s, they never grew back, and then you had to have microblading. They never really look natural. So the best tip I can possibly give is if you're in the position of leaving them natural to start with, do that. That's great. And then you can work from there. Now, because we're doing an everyday easy makeup, one of the things that I always say to people is keep one feature of the face as free from makeup as you possibly can. So in this case, we're going to keep the brows as soft as we possibly can, right? The reason for that is that it looks more modern. If you put makeup everywhere, it becomes really quite a look. It never looks like a day makeup. It always looks quite done. So we're going to keep one free. So if you think about, say, like a very, very smoky eye, and then you think about it with the red lip like we saw in, say, Robert Palmer's, Addicted to Love video. It's a real look. It's a very made-up look, and it looks of the time, of that late 80s time. If you did that now, you'd feel uncomfortable walking out into the street. Whereas if you just wore the eye or you wore the lip, but without either of the others, it would work beautifully.
So you have to kind of try to pick one.
Yeah, pick one.
Yeah.
Just pick one.
I have to say, I like the idea of leaving the brows a little bit bare because, as I said, sometimes I just can't do them that well.
Totally, leave them bare.
Yeah.
Like you've got such nice brows that I'm just going to pop a little bit of this boy brow just through, just to shape them and hold them in place. That's it. Now I do also have the Glossier boy brow arch here, just in case. Now, if Raquel had like a scar, or a few brows missing, or badly tweezed brows, or whatever, I could use this pencil just to fill in where it needed to be filled in. But just because you have the products doesn't mean that you have to use them everywhere. Makeup is very much about problem solving.
I'm very guilty of that.
We get carried away.
All the gear and
yeah, we get really carried away with it.
I'm very guilty of that.
So I'm just going to start off by brushing all the brows upwards using the boy brow.
And I think what's great about the boy brow is that you don't have to be so precise, right? When you have the pencil, I always have to go for something that's a really fine nib because I'm really heavy-handed.
Completely.
So it's nice that with the boy brow, it's not so precise.
If you did have to pick one with a very fine nib, this is fantastic. So there's the two brands that I really like for this are Kosas. They do an amazing one. And this one here, this is, you can see it's angled, right? And so people might wonder how you keep the shape. You keep the shape by using the lid. You use this little flat piece here to sharpen it so that you keep the shape.
I did not know
and that makes it the one pencil that you really can get the finest line from. out of all of the fine ones. I'm going to use a tiny bit of this, only just on the outside, just so everyone can see how great it is. Okay, we are going to move on to eyes. So I would use these spring, summer, autumn, winter. I love a shadow stick. It's so easy. And as we're talking about makeup that you can do very quickly with very few products, that is easy at home. So we are using Hourglass Voyeur eyeshadow stick in the shade Galaxy. Now lots of brands do shadow sticks. By Terrier's just launched a matte version, which is Lush. Have you tried them?
No, I haven't yet.
So
I'm an
gorgeous.
amateur when it comes to eyeshadow. So
Oh, so this is scary
so
for you.
yeah, so
Okay.
when I'm very intrigued and excited to see how you use it.
Right, we're going to go light.
Okay.
Just close for me. I prefer to use a brush because the less oil you add to the eye area, the better.
Okay.
You've probably used your hands for other things. You've used it for SPF. You might have used it for your foundation. Adding extra emollient in that area is only going to make everything crease. So
Okay.
I wouldn't. So the great thing with a shadow stick is that it sets. Even if it's got shimmer in like this, it will set and not move around during the day.
I think so far I could keep up.
This is so easy. You definitely can. These don't crease. Because they set, they don't crease. That's the great thing. That's why they're so popular. If you do find that you have a particularly oily eyelid, you can get eyelid primers,
Okay.
which will take the oil out.
So how did you find your time as a makeup artist? How does that differ to you now creating content?
Okay, they're two really, really different jobs. Being an influencer or a content creator, especially if I'm doing makeup on myself, is very much about me, right? Because it's just me there in front of the camera. It's also about the audience that's watching, but mostly it's about me. When you're a makeup artist, it's never about you. It's never about you. You're sort of seen and not heard, you know? So your job is to just be there, to be calm, to make sure that whoever you're working on is prepared, because you are the last person that they see before they go in front of the camera, whatever that is, whether it's on a film set or a shoot. So it's a very different job.
How do you think the industry has changed since, when you were first starting out as a makeup artist in terms of like, even just product?
Products changed massively. So social media really kind of leveled the playing field when it came to products, because you're unable to bring out a terrible product now. You just can't do it because everybody will just be like, that is really bad. And back when I started on social media and when I was a makeup artist, there were some products that were just like #1 sellers, but everybody knew just were awful. So I think that there's a lot more messaging, there's a lot more understanding about using products now than there ever was before.
But in terms of how the industry was when you first started as a makeup artist and how it is now, do you think it's changed, isn't it, and it's improved for the better?
I think it's definitely improved for the better. I think when I was a makeup artist, it was really a closed shop about the makeup secrets, and because you would have step-by-steps in magazines. You can't really follow a makeup tutorial from a step-by-step in a magazine, right? So I think that there is a lot more understanding for the audience, for the consumer, as to how products work and what's right for them. And also, like in terms of online reviews, how great is it to be able to go and check that something's going to work for you before you go and buy it?
And especially for like foundation and base products, to shade match.
Completely.
Because shade matching online is really difficult, I've found. But
I think
if you go on socials...
It's so true. And also, I think without social media, I'm not sure we ever would have got there with the deeper skin tones.
Yeah.
It would have taken a lot longer for all of the brands to cover everything than it did when there was pressure applied.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So, and I think it's nice because now brands can be held accountable.
100%. You can't bring out a brand without doing
6 shades.
Do you know what I mean? You just can't.
It doesn't happen anymore.
You can't do it. Just look down for me. I am using, sorry, before I just crack on. I am using Glossier #1 pencil, and the colour is Rococo.
Okay, look down.
Look down for me. I am running this just along the lash line, and I'm just going to do the outside edge. So we're doing about a third of the way. Now you don't have to be neat with this because it's really blendable. These set, so you have a bit of playtime, what we call playtime. That means you've got, 20 seconds to blend it before it sets, and it's just stuck there all day. So I am going, if you just look down for me, I am going So you see, I'm just throwing it on. You don't have to be neat. We're doing about 1/3 of the way across. And then blending with a brush. You see that moves?
I'm making mental notes to
Well, you can follow this tutorial.
recreate it. Yeah, and to follow the tutorial as well.
This brush is a 301. It's a Space NK 301. And it's just a little smudger. But if you're very shaky, the great thing about using a product like this is that it doesn't matter if you shake because you're going to blend it after anyway, right? So don't be too tough and critical on yourself. There has been this real push towards everyone looking perfect for a really long time, but what even is perfect? It doesn't actually exist. But I do find the relentless kind of pursuit for perfection kind of ridiculous, because it's one you're not going to win. You're never going to win it. You're definitely going to age. It doesn't exist anyway, you know, so you might as well just enjoy what you've got. I am running that same liner just along the lash line. You can put it in the waterline if you want.
So this is a great sort of like 2-in-1 product then, isn't it?
It's a great 2-in-1 product. Now, if you just look at the camera for me for a second, you will adjust the colour that you use depending on your skin tone if you want this effect. So on Raquel, I've used this kind of deep burgundy. If you wanted this same effect and you were, say, my colour, you might go for a softer brown, a slightly lighter brown. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think, you know, if you use exactly the same colours but you're not the same skin tone, it will have a different look. It will look darker on a lighter skin, right? Right, we're going to pop some mascara on. This is Hourglass Unlocked. Have you used this?
I haven't used this one yet.
It's banging. You're going to like it.
Okay.
Because it's really smudge free. It's great. Now I am going to go from the mascara wand. Again, it's something that I wouldn't do. If I was on a shoot, I would use mascara wands. But as I'm talking to a Space NK audience, you want to see how the mascara looks. The wand drastically changes how a mascara lays down. So it's really important when you pick your mascara that you like the wand. Okay, look down.
And this wand is a little bit more of a plasticky
Yes, it is.
wand, isn't it?
It's a silicone, very flexible wand. I like it a lot. There are some wands I love, some mascaras I love that have very, very thick wands. However, you are more likely to make a mess
With those. Yeah.
This is so fine and delicate that you have a lot of control over it, and it's great on tops and bottoms. So for me, when I apply mascara, I'm going to show you what I do. Take the mascara out of the tube. Clean off the end so you don't get blobs. Then go to the lash, look up for me, and I'm not actually going to do this to you so you don't have to panic. But you're going to take the wand and you're going to put it as close to the lash line as you can and wiggle it, rock it, so that you can get a build-up of product there. The first place that you put any product onto the skin is the place it's going to lay down the most product. So you want it at the lash line. Don't start at the ends unless you want your lashes to look like burnt twigs. If that's the look you're going for, great. But if you want more of a feathered, full, volumized lash that kind of tapers out, start right at the lash line.
And we're going to wiggle it from the lash.
We're going to wiggle. We're going to give it a rock. Get all the way to the ends of the lashes. Right, I have got 2 concealers here, and we are using 13 Deep Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Beautiful Skin Radiant Concealer. And I'm going to just use a very small amount of this under the eye. So this is a little bit lighter than the foundation we used, but it's not like 4 shades lighter. You don't have to do that, and you see that a lot when
Guilty.
when people are picking concealer, they go very, very pale, and that's absolutely fine if perhaps you're going out for dinner in the evening or something like that. But as we're talking about everyday easy makeup that's going to look good in daylight, 1 shade lighter is absolutely fine.
And in terms of application for the concealer, what brush is this and what's your favourite?
I'm using the same brush, the Monica Blunder one, the exact same one, with just a small amount of the concealer on and just working it just under the eyes. I quite like a fluffy brush for under the eyes. However, if you had any blemishes to cover, which you don't, but if you did, I would use a very small brush, almost like an eyeliner brush, and I would spot conceal.
Okay.
Which is like pinpoint concealing, when you just put the tiniest bit on the blemish and then you blend it in, perhaps with a finger, because it's easy to go, right, okay, I have a blemish, and then just take this
And put it
put it
directly on.
straight on the skin, and it's just too much product. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier. When you put that much product on, it has to go somewhere. So if it almost cancels out the fact that you have this blemish to cover, because then you have that concealer everywhere. So you can still see the blemish.
And
do you know what I mean?
And it's okay to go ahead and use the same brush that you use for the foundation.
100%.
So less is more, not just with the products, but also with...
I think so. Like, I don't think you need a different brush for everything. You know, some people like a flat foundation brush like this. It depends what you're using. If you're using a liquid foundation, this might be great. But this is also going to give you more coverage than something like this. So it depends what you want. You wouldn't want to use this as a concealer brush, though, because
Too dense.
Too dense. You don't want that much coverage with concealer. Concealer is automatically, you know, it is a more coverage product, so you don't need extra coverage. The less you can use concealer, the better. What does work for everyone is a little bit of concealer on the outside edge of the eye. So if you take a tiny little bit on a small brush, that's wet from my hand. So I'm going to do it on this side so you can see. So you take a tiny little bit on a brush and you put it on the outside edge of the eye here. It's automatically going to lift the eye. But also during the day, this is an area that gets kind of dark and tired. And so it's an area that you can touch up during the day, and it's going to add brightness. If you put concealer in here, it's also going to add a brightness and a lightness and an openness and a bit more of a fresher feel to the eye. Overall, I think it's really difficult to copy trends exactly, because it might work on the person who's doing the video, but if your face isn't like them, it also might not work on you. Everyone has their own different things. Like, I like to put concealer on the outside edges of my mouth in the same way that we are here, because it lifts the outside corners. And as I've got older, it just drops a little bit more. So it really is kind of problem solving depending on what your problems are.
I think for me in the past, I'd watch makeup tutorials and I'd want to follow them exactly to a T.
Yeah.
And as you said, how it looks on the model, they may have a different face structure, face shape. But just now when I watch other makeup tutorials, I can sort of like take it with a grain of salt. And I think what's great about this one is that you're giving really good advice for beginners, and it's not tailored to just me.
No, absolutely not. This is really simple, really basic stuff. And it's what you need to do is just identify what you want to change, where your problem areas are, if you have any at all. If you don't, great. Like for me, as I said, I like to lift the outside corners of my eyes. I also will do this with the outside corners of my eyes as well. And as we get older, our makeup will change. And don't worry also if your makeup moves around a bit. Like, I definitely will have transfer on my eyelid. You know what? I just blend it in. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. We've made out like your makeup has to stay there all day, 24 hours. Some of these products will tell you that they last for 24 hours. But do you want it to last for 24 hours? Do you know what I mean? Like, I like makeup to look like it's been lived in, but I like to enjoy applying it. I don't want it to become like this strict regimen of what I need to do in order to shape my face into a different shape. Like,
you want to have fun with it as well.
I want to have fun with it, and I also want people to have fun with it and to not feel kind of almost oppressed by a list of, like a checklist of things that they need to do. What we're going to do is just pop a little bit of powder on.
And so do you always tap any excess product off?
I do.
Okay.
I do, especially when it comes to powder. You really don't need a lot. And the less you put on, the more you can build it up during the day. Do you know what I mean? If I just go straight in, you know how people bake and they powder until they're flat? There's nowhere to go.
Okay.
Right? There's nowhere to go. So I like to use the smallest amount, and then it's fine if you need to touch up later. If, however, you find some areas are problem areas, like let's say round the nose, people always get
oily.
Yeah. You can use a smaller brush and you can really load the product up onto that brush. The bristles are shorter, therefore it's going to pick up more product and lay down more product. So you can just take that in those areas to really map those down. Okay, right, let's do a bit of cheek, shall we? I have this Milk highlighter in the colour Spark. I'm going to use this on my finger. We are going to warm this up.
And it's the first time you've applied anything with your fingers today.
Well, I put your SPF on.
Oh, yes.
And
which we're not forgetting.
No, we're not. We are not.
And the placement of the highlighter now, because there's been a lot of online, placement of blush and placement of highlighter has changed over the course of the last few years.
Apparently, yeah.
So where do you say that where do you think is best to place the highlighter?
So it's always going to go on the high points of the face. So anything that you want to lift and enhance. Okay, so you can put it on, you can put it below the brow bone, you can put it on the actual eyelid, you can put it on the tops of the cheekbones, you can put it on the top lip. Some people use it as a highlighter down the centre of the nose just to kind of shape. It's not really my favourite thing. I don't love it to be super visible. I want everything to look like you just look great today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it always, for me, I always want it to look like skin.
Just an enhanced version of what you already have.
Exactly that. Right. And that's why I'm using this from my fingers, because I'll pick up a lot more product on a brush and I'll have less control over it. So with this, I can, and because it's an emollient product that moves around, I get to put it on and take it off with my hands. You see how I'm swatching between fingers? Like I put it on with one and then I'll use the others to take away so that I just get the little bit of glow.
And would you always do the highlight before the blush?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't think there's a right and wrong on routine. Mostly people don't start with lips though, only because if you did start with lips, you have the opportunity to make a real mess of the rest of your face, you know? But no, I mean, I like to, when I'm doing makeup like this, I will move around the face. So I'll start with a bit of base, but it won't be the end base. That will just be my starting point. And then I'll come back, and then later on I'll come back again, you know, because the makeup changes over the time that you have it sitting on the skin.
Yeah.
When you first sit it, it's there, you know, it doesn't, but, and also because some products oxidize. And so you want to see what's changing, what's adjusting. So I never do, right, this is it, it's done, I'm not coming back to it, apart from brows. That's kind of like the only thing that I'll just do and not come back to.
I'm learning.
Everything else is like a, you know, a sort of moving canvas. So if we could put a little of that highlighter down your nose, and I'll just use, you see how I'm using different fingers to kind of work it in. And also moving around the face so I can see from every angle that is blended. Because the thing with highlighter is, if you don't blend it, it just sort of sits there. You can really see it.
Yeah.
So I just use my fingers just to really work around and make sure it's all blended in. And soft. Love that. Okay.
And then now for blush. I'm really excited about the blush.
Blush, right. Okay. So now I have to pick what I'm going to do on your cheeks, but also I have to pick what I'm doing on the lip at the same time, because otherwise I've got less choices. So if I pick the lip first, then let's see, what's this? What are we doing here? That's nice and soft. So I could do that with a lip liner. Then I could get away with a bit of colour on the cheek. However, if I went with a bold lip, I might want to go with very little blush. Do you see what I mean? There is sort of
they work in tandem.
There's a bit of a push and pull.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the lip first, then we're going to come back and do the cheek. So if you're doing your lip liner at home, one of my tips is to take your liner and then you're going to take your hand and rest it on your chin to do your liner. It's very difficult to do your liner just like this with your hand free. So if you can anchor it, it's much easier to do. You can follow the shape of the natural lip line if you love the shape of your lips, or you can cheat it if you want fuller lips, or you want thinner lips, or you want lifted lips. There's loads of things you can do with lip liner to adjust it. It's really just like art on the face, right? So you can see that I am holding Raquel's head in one place This comes from in the 90s when you would do backstage work and the models were always smoking and talking on a phone, right, at the same time while you're working. So you just like lift their heads right up, so it made it really difficult to do that because otherwise you could never get anyone to keep still.
Yeah.
But also I can rest my hand on my hand, you see, and just that way my hand is anchored. I really like about this liner is that it doesn't go on really dense. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's sheer, but it's soft,
buildable,
right? It's
yeah.
buildable.
Yeah.
Thank you. Buildable is the correct word. On the outside edge here, I'm just going to take the liner and I'm going to work it across the outside edge of the lip. So from the outside corners going in. Just because we are using a glossy lip product and I don't want it to just go lip liner gloss. I want it to feel like the lip.
Like it's blended all in one.
Exactly. This colour is Pillow Talk Deep. Pillow Talk Deep, Charlotte Tilbury. Have you used this colour before?
No, I haven't. Not in the gloss.
I really like it.
I like the lipstick and the Pillow Talk 2 medium.
Yeah.
That's like a go-to nude lip for me.
So if you have a lipstick at home, which loads of you will have, that you don't like, you bought and you're like, oh, it doesn't work. It might just be that you need a different lip liner and then you can carry on wearing it and it looks amazing. So lip liner is a real key. It's a real staple. But when it comes to like red lipsticks, lip liners are obviously very easy. It's, you know, you've got your shades, but they're going to be fine. When it comes to like a nude lip liner, that's when it's difficult. It depends on your undertone a lot of the time. I mean, the easiest and most foolproof way to know your undertone is to go into a counter and ask someone in there that knows. Okay, so let's have a look at this cheek now. Okay, so that's pretty lush. I think we could get away with putting something kind of, let's try this. We're going to try it. We're going to try it. This is Nearly Berry from Rare Beauty. And it is a cream. And I'm going to do this with my hand again because I do not want to put a lot on. So we're going to work it up the smallest amount.
And do you have a preference with liquid blush versus powder blush?
Not really. Powder blush is going to last longer.
Okay.
Anything powder is going to last longer. So it's just up to you. If you have an oily skin, you're going to go for powder, right? Like it really, sometimes it's depicted by the type of skin you have, and sometimes it's just the preference. Powder is less flattering if you have very dry skin. So this is when I will use my beauty blender.
Okay.
I am using the smallest amount, really, really minuscule. And the reason I'm using the smallest amount is because you have eyes, you have lips, and now you're going to have cheeks as well. And that's quite a lot. So we're going to keep the whole cheek thing quite minimal. So we've got minimal brows, minimal cheeks, and then it's sort of daytime wearable. Now, if you use as little of this blush as I am using, it will last you centuries. And it does last a long time anyway. This is really nice because it just gives a little bit. You wouldn't even know it was blush. It just looks like your skin is rosy cheeks. Blush placement, again, depends on the shape of your face. If you had, mostly I will put the blush quite high on the cheek, right? Sometimes people like to put it here on the apple of the cheek. Sometimes we like to put it where the highlight is. It just depends on the finish you want. It's not a right or a wrong. Also depends on your face shape. So some people might have more of a round face, in which case you probably are going to want to put it here and then just work it upwards. So start on the apple and work it upwards. If you have a very narrow face, you might want to skip blush, or you might want just the very, very smallest amount just on the outside. You know, it really depends on what your face shape is. By and large, it goes on the cheek quite high up. If it's pink, like a soft pink, like this kind of pink, the higher the better. Sometimes with this kind of colour, I'll almost put it into my concealer because it can give you like that real sort of Aunt Sally dated vibes with the pink. So nice and high with that. Now what I'm also going to do with this is take a tiny, tiny bit and put it just on your brow bone. You could do this instead of a highlighter. You could do it as well as a highlighter. Either or. You can add highlighter on top of that if you want. The reason I do it is just because it really looks nice. It adds a little bit of warmth and it kind of uniforms everything. It makes it make sense. But you can barely see it. It sounds like it's scary, but bearing in mind Raquel hasn't seen in the mirror, so she has no idea what I'm doing. She's looking at me.
I'm just smiling.
She's looking at me put this on her eyebrows. She's like, woo.
That's a new one.
You look a tiny bit nervous. Okay. And then to finish, we go back in with the smallest amount of powder wherever we feel like we need it. So I'm going to put a tiny bit up here. Personally, I never use these. That's a lot of product. And also, the more powder you put on, the more flat your skin looks, right? So the more coverage you're putting on top of the beautiful work you've done with your foundation. So I always like to use a brush. I understand why these are there. They're very handy if you're out and about, right? But I would always use a brush to do that. Yes. We're going to finish with a little bit of setting spray. This one is Milk Hydro Grip Set and Refresh Spray. So just close your eyes for me. And we're just going to let that sit. Another great way for using this product is to spritz the skin after you've done your SPF. And if you're using a stick foundation, work your stick foundation into your set. It's going to last so well.
So there we have it. That is the complete autumn-winter makeup tutorial by Sam Chapman. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're so welcome.
I'm definitely going to be following this along and trying to recreate it at home. So let us know if you guys will also be doing the same. We will be back next week. So make sure you do subscribe. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment below. Let us know what tip and trick was your favourite and what some of your favourite products were. Obviously, I love all of the products, so I won't be picking a favourite. But let us know what your favourite product is. And thank you to you guys for watching. And thank you to Sam.
You're welcome.
For sharing her wisdom with us. And we'll see you very, very soon. Bye.
Bye.